Hey, what's going on, man? It's your boy JmoneyProd. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to use two very important tools in music production. They do two completely different things, but they're along a similar path, I guess. A lot of people don't really use this, and I'm telling you, for one, this will save you time, and two, this will save your CPU from screaming. Okay, so we're gonna get right into this video. I apologize for being absent. I keep saying that. I feel like Corey Kenshin, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Let's get right into it, y'all. So before I get into actually applying sends and buses, you guys want to know what the hell even is a bus or a send, right? I know I did when I first started, getting into engineering and things of that nature. A bus is a channel that you could select multiple other channels to route to. And what does this do? Is, for one, allows you to free up CPU in the sense that you wouldn't be adding individual effects on these drums unless you wanted to, of course. But as long, it wouldn't make sense to put the same thing every single channel when you could just put it on the bus. You feel me? So the bus, what it does is basically sum up all of the selected channels. For example, if you want to create a drum bus, you simply just select all the drums, your hi-hat, clap, snare, open hat, things of that nature, and you just simply route it to this one channel. And now if you want to add something like a soft clipper or some level of distortion or something, or compression, you can do these things. Or EQ, if you want to do some kind of summing EQ, which essentially, like I said, is just doing everything that's connected to that channel at once. Now again, you can still go into those individual drum channels and do whatever the hell you want. Like sometimes for my hi-hats, when I do make beats, I make sure, sometimes I'm adding maybe it's a little bit of effectrix or something, or give it a little bit of sauce or whatever. But in the sense that you are putting the exact same effects on multiple channels, that's a waste of time. Why do that when you can just use one that's still doing the exact same thing? So again, that'll free up your CPU because you won't have a whole load of just the same instances of plugins, you know what I mean? Now, what is a send? A send is basically a channel where you can apply time-based effects to. Nothing else is on it except pretty much the time-based effect and maybe some EQ or something to just shape the reverb, for example. This wouldn't alter the original track, because usually, for example, right, if you're using a channel that has let's say you're recording an artist, right, and you have a fire vocal, but it's just dry and you want to add some reverb. Well, naturally, you're just going to go to the slot, to insert within that channel and add a reverb. That's fine. There's nothing wrong about that. And I'm going to be one of the first people to say this because there's a lot of people on the internet that'll sit there and tell you this is not the right thing to do. We're about to be in 2025. Almost everybody's laptops have been made within the last decade. I'm going to tell you now, it doesn't matter anymore that much, but it's still a good practice because sometimes some people don't have the greatest memory on their computer or the greatest CPU on their computer, and they might be running things in the background while they're making music, and you want to save on your CPU usage and your memory. So what is the best way to apply that is use sends. What is a send again? You basically have a channel just like how you would have a bus channel, but instead of connecting the individual instrument tracks or vocal tracks or whatever to this channel, you're simply sending that send channel to those individual tracks. So it's flipped the other way around. What does this mean? Well, let's say again, you want to have a cool fire, big epic reverb on your main vocals, right? But then, for the stabs or the doubles, of the vocals, you might want it to be a little less subtle, at this particular moment of the track, right? And then, because of course automation plays a part too, you might have a bridge where it that gets epic as well. But let's say there's a part where this is the case. The background vocals are a lot less just echoey and reverby, and the main vocals is taking the shine right now. While the send allows you to send a specific level to each individual channel, which is good because it's basically like opening up the same reverb plugin on 7 different channels and then individually controlling what you want in those parameters for each channel. Why do that 7 times when you can just do it one time, right? You do it one time, and then on those send channels on all 7 of those tracks, they're all using whatever level you set. So if you want it to be a long tail reverb, you make a long reverb tail send. If you want a room reverb, you put a room reverb send. If you want a 1 bar length delay, you make a 1 bar length delay send. If you want a ping pong delay, which is like, you know, bounce left and right, you make a ping pong delay send. So you get my drift. So that's what makes it similar between the bus and the send. They both save you on a lot of resources on your computer, so you're not like, your computer isn't just like freezing up or acting slow and all that kind of stuff. This will immediately save your computer from having to keep processing a bunch of instances of the same stuff. Okay, now I know you guys are tired of hearing me talk about what a bus and a send is, but I really felt like that was an important thing that you guys should know about, because now when I show you how to use it or how to apply it, you're not going to be extremely confused. So let's take it to the DAW, shall we? So as you see, I've made like a little 16 bar pattern, just added like a little bit of melodies here. These are accents that I made, but I just didn't feel like making my own melody right now, so I just pulled some accents, made together, connected them together to make a cool little melody. And then here at the top I have the percussions, drums, and so I also color coded them specifically because this is something I like to do because it's easier on the eyes, so I know what is what associates with what, and you know, that's good to do. Now what I'm gonna do is load up the mixer. So over here in the mixer section, again, you'll see the color codes, you see everything. You'll notice that all of these says main. What the main is doing is saying that everything that's playing here is gonna go straight to the master channel, right, which is labeled main. So what I'm gonna do is demonstrate what some of you guys may do, which is simply let's say you want to add in EQ. So I put an EQ on the rim shot. Right now on the rim shot, there's a little bit of low end going on down here that really has it's information, real information that's being shown, but it's not really audible to the ear. What happens though is when you have a bunch of instances of sounds that have information that's not audible, it builds up rumble, you know. This is more of a haptic frequency area down here, and so unless you have a subwoofer, you won't really hear these things. But when you have a lot of things that have a bunch of rumble going on, what's going to happen is it makes your track sound muddy, or it just sounds like too much is happening, and it's going to interfere with your bass. And so I will do a low cut or a high pass, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to mute myself so you can hear what this sounds like. You're gonna notice that you're not gonna hear anything. And so basically, I'm taking out that unnecessary zone of frequencies because you're not hearing it anyways. And what it's doing is making this sound a lot more cleaner when the full like track plays. And yeah, so that's a little bit in terms of the mixing aspect. Now, let's say you have the same situation on all of these percussion instruments. You're gonna be copying and pasting them. Now, the way I'm doing it here, so like FL Studio, I think you can copy and paste the thing, but sometimes you might have to like save a preset and then load up the DAW, and so that way you can have the exact same thing, or you just simply load up that next instance of the EQ into the next channel and then do the same slope, you know, the same parameter. And it's just like, why, when you don't need to have 4 of the same thing going on? So I'm going to take these out and boom. Now for the buses, what are we gonna do? One way I like to do is highlight highlight the tracks, the selected tracks. So for this one, it's the percussion ones. And then I'm just gonna right click here or right click off here off the side and then hit add bus for selected channels. What that does is add bus 1, as you see, on all of the selected channels, the name of the bus. The other way I go about it is which is, you know, I guess the same kind of concept, is I just right click over here and then add bus channel. You see it's called bus 1, and then I can just highlight these channels and click main and then bus 1. Same thing, whatever way you want to do it, but I think just selecting the channels that you want and then just right clicking and hit add bus to selected channels for selected channels, that's like the way to go about it. And then I simply just name it percussion bus or perk bus. You'll see that the name changes. So now these no longer say main. These are all connected to the perk bus, and the perk bus is connected to the main, the master. This is acting as the master channel for the percussions. I'm going to do the same thing for these melodies here. They say main right now. I'm going to highlight them, right click, and then hit add bus for selected channels, right? So now these says bus 1. I'm going to change this to say melody bus. Now they say melody bus. Why am I not bus routing the 808? Well, usually for me, and this is a preference, you can add this to the percussion bus if you want, do what you will. For me, I like making a drum bus usually, but that's usually if I'm using multiple 808s in one track, or if I'm using an 808 that has maybe a kick involved and I may want to do some kind of soft clipping or something like that. But since I'm only using one instance, this just doesn't need to be routed because I'm not grouping anything else with it, so it doesn't need to be routed. So that's how also you would know whether something needs to be routed or not. Whether like you know, just assess what the project is, you know, what's going on in the project. And if you know that you have a project that you don't have certain stuff that's considered to be in a group, you just don't group it. But if you want to get experimental and do stuff, by any means, do it, you know. So anyway, I'm keeping that going to the main. This will be routed somewhere soon, you'll see. Now, when I solo the perk bus, if you notice, all the selected channels that's routed to this channel is also soloed, so they all work together as one channel. These are all grouped to this one channel. And same thing if I select the melody bus, only the melody channels are soloed. Now you also see that the other ones are muted because they are not connected to this bus. This also indicates that whatever effects you put on this channel is going to affect all of those selected channels. This will be your global effects channel. So let's say I want to do that same EQ trick, right? So I open up my EQ and then I'm going to play the beat again. Then what's going to happen is I'm going to solo the perks. Boom. Now everything that's connected is playing. And I'm just going to take out some of that rumble. Just about here is good. And then maybe like do a little bit of more tweaking on the snare. Maybe it peaks on that rim shot. Maybe a little bit of the resonance from the hi-hat. And, right, I can still individually control these channels. So it's not, you know, only you can only mess with this. You can still come back and let's say that snare's a little too loud. I can just simply turn that down a little and it'll still be good. And so, yeah, that's about it in terms of understanding the bus routing. So I could do the same old thing with the melody here. I can go over to the melody and I can simply add EQ. Now here, it's a lot of bass going on. Now I can automate this later down the line in the track if I want the bass to come up when I don't have the 808 playing. But if the 808 is playing, I don't want these to collide. So I'm gonna cut some of this out. It's gonna have a bit of a high pass sound. Maybe turn some of the resonance down over here. Right around here with the mallets. And leave it at that. Keep it simple, right? So cool. We now understand how the bus route works. So simply, you have a channel that all of the individual channels is connected to. Consider a bus routed channel a group channel. This is a folder, and these are all the pages within that folder. Right now, you want to understand how the sends work. If you notice, in all of these channels, including the bus channels, there are a section down here on the bottom half of the slots which says sends. Now sends works a little bit different than the bus routing. Now let's say you want to add reverb, right? Because sends are better off for a lot of time-based effects like reverb or delay. Let's say you want to add Valhalla Vintage reverb. That's my personal favorite reverb. So we're going to add that, right? Let's go to 1980s, go to like Sanctuary. We're going to turn the mix knob down because the mix knob, as you see, it says controls the balance of the input signal with the reverb. Basically what that's doing is when they put it at 100%, they assume you're going to use this as a send. But since we aren't using it as a send in this moment because we're loading it on our melody channel, you know, directly on the channel, we're going to turn this mix knob down. What is the mix knob doing? The mix knob is a mixture between the dry signal, meaning my melody itself, and then the wet signal, meaning the room that it's emulated to be in. For example, a sanctuary area, or, you know, a cathedral area, or whatever reverb area you're using. This is going to be balancing that signal between the melody and the reverb. So let's say I turn it down to about 30, turn the decay up so it's about a pretty fair long tail. I'm not going to change any of these extra effects, no point for this video. And you know, the only melody part that's going to be reverberated is this one part of the melody, this one melody. But I still have 4 other things in the melody that, you know, when the audio files die out, because I didn't apply MIDI on this project, so these are audio files. What's happening is once I play something, they're gonna stop. You know, if I hit pause again, it's gonna just stop abruptly. And even when it's playing, the end of the audio file tails, there's no reverb, so it just completely cuts off. And I may not like that, you may not like that in your project, so you're gonna sit here and, you know, throw a bunch of reverbs on. So you get the point, right? But again, this is perfectly fine to do still. I'm not saying that, again, this is all preference. This is not something that you have to do. I'm not going to be the person to say that this is what you have to do. But what I will say is, if you want to save resources on your computer and, again, save its stress, you know, save your CPU stress, and your RAM, don't have a bunch of the same stuff loaded on the same thing. Like, it's, you know, like it's no point. So again, I'm going to take these all out, and what am I going to do now? I'm going to go to the melody bus, because these are all connected to the melody bus. If these were all connected to the master, I would add it in the master. But no, I create the melody bus, so now I can do global effects. The only time you're going to want to do separate effects is, again, it's a preference thing. If you want to do separate reverbs because you might have one that's like doing a slightly different kind of, you know, might have maybe a different EQ parameter setup or whatever like that, fine. Or different pre-delays setup, fine. If they're all under the same thing, you want to do is hit this by the sends section. It's a little plus sign. You hit that, and then you hit add effects channel, or you can just right click offside and then hit add effects channel. But just to make things more simple and fast, you hit add effects channel, and it automatically creates an effects channel send named right after the channel, just like how the buses did. Here I'm going to name it long verb for long reverb. As you see, it changed to long verb. I could put these separate effects on the different you know, on those different melodies. As you see, totally possible to do, and you can change these individually and still get the, you know, the effects that you want, you know. So it's not, again, it's not all just, you know, fixed to you can do what you want. Again, if you want to do global effects on everything, put it in the bus, so that way it's going on everything. Now I'm gonna go in this empty channel here that we named long verb, and I'm gonna hit the plus sign, add in Valhalla vintage verb. We're gonna do the same thing, 1980s. Keep the mix at 100% because now this is acting as a send. The only thing that's in this channel is just the reverb signal. You're not going to hear anything except the reverb signal. You're not, you know what I'm saying? So it'll be at 100%. It'll sound super lush. Turn the decay up a little. Turn this to sanctuary. You didn't change nothing else. And now you're going to still get the same effect. Cool, right? So that is how you would add a send. Again, you can add these to the individual ones if you wanted and not have it in a bus and change these individually. Fine, perfectly normal. You can also double click on the send and the reverb automatically opens up and you can tweak stuff in it and you know, do what you want. And so that's cool. Now again, on different DAWs, certain stuff may show up a little differently. Like sends may show up a little different in Pro Tools or in Cubase than it does in here. In FL Studio, sends are definitely different. I mean, you don't even have a send section. So you have to simply kind of treat it just like how you would treat the bus routing from there. And so, but you still want to treat it where that signal is going to your dry signal and not the other way around, like how the buses are doing. The buses, you're sending your dry signal to a channel. With sends, you're sending a wet signal to your dry channel. So that's the difference. And yeah, so now we got ourselves a reverb, right? Now, let's say I want to add like a delay to my hi-hat and my rim shot, right? I can right click, add, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I gotta add an effects channel. Make this perk delay. Oh no, I could just name it delay. Delay 1. Obviously, when you want to get into the time base, like specifically, like I can actually open up H delay. We're gonna go turn this off. Okay, let's say I want to do a half delay. You see, wet knob is all the way maxed. They do that on purpose, assuming you're going to use it as a send. I'm going to turn the feedback down, maybe turn the output low a little bit. And then, yeah, now I'm going to name this delay half. I'm going to make another one that's called delay quarter note, right? I'm going to copy this over, make it faster, and then put this in quarter note. Now, what I can do is go over to the hi-hats and say, let's say for this one, I want to do quarter note. I could turn this down a little and let's take a listen to what that sounds like. I'm gonna go over to here. You hear it? Now I want to turn it up a little bit, make it a little bit more prominent. Cool, right? So I don't have to add the delay directly onto the channel. And I can do the same thing here. I can go to the snare. Do I want to? No, I could add it onto the rim shot actually. I'll go and put delay half. No, I'm sorry. I'll go put delay quarter note and watch this. Cool. And I can tweak these. So it's still there, it's just quiet. Now I can also just put the half note one on. So now you get yourself a little bit of flavor in your beat without adding a bunch of extra delays with different, time, rhythms, patterns. You can have all of these just one time and you can put them on everything. And yeah, that's about it. So now you understand how bus routing works and you understand how sends work. Now let's load up an actual project from my homeboy KYL IX. He's a new, you know, aspiring artist. Love his music. He's gotten so good at making his own beats over the past couple of months, well, few months the few months that I knew him, rather. And yeah, like he's good, man. He definitely knows what he's doing with the work. And I've had the pleasure of recording some of his music. These songs are not out yet like that. We're working on an album, so you know, bear with us on the release of these projects, but he's allowing me to show you guys a section of it for the sake of this video, understanding how the buses and sends work in an actual project. See, this is just, you know, a small thing for the tutorial that I show you guys how to add these things, but in a project where I already have it set within one of my templates that I've made, I can show you guys what that is. And so we're gonna load that up. So this is the project in which I worked on his music, and the song's called Dead Wrong. I produced the beat a while back. Actually, this is one of my favorite beats that I made back then. Shout out KYL IX for allowing me to use his song. It will be out soon, obviously. Again, this also isn't a perfectly finished mix. This is like a step right after, a little bit after the first draft mix. Again, putting together an album. So to be fair, I want to like do a lot of those projects all around the same time period. It's not all over the place. And here's what this track sounds like, so you guys know what it sounds like.
I've been working since the sandbox, trying to get it together, don't see the bigger picture, I'm bringing the bag, but I'm trying to get it quick, I'm praying, I swear to God, I won't fall scripture. But they testing me, thinking I won't pull a trigger. Born in the mud, but I'm betting on me. Fingernail dirty, I muddy my jeans. Tired of showing what loyalty mean. I had they back while they laughing at me. If I ain't the incident, you was dead wrong. Now put that on me. It's for the bag getters, no, it's not for the streets. Now they treated me like VIP.
So you can hear the effects that play even throughout the track, but you also hear it once I hit pause, because you just hear like the last bit of the reverb and the delays. We're gonna open up the mixer. Within the mixer, you see that I have some things that's separate, and the reason being is because, you know, in some sections, like for example the verse, I may have a certain thing in a verse, I may have something going on in a hook that I want to sound a little different from the verse, obviously, and then stuff from the stabs and the ad-libs that I want a little different from the hooks, stuff like that. So then I have my beat. I have one for like, I did like a beat switch up, so I have 2 channels for that. And then I have like my shaper box effect for a section when I wanted it to do like a little down break type of effect. Down here, you notice I have a couple of sends. At the time, I didn't need to load up a full stack of different reverbs and delays. Again, this is something that, you know, when you're starting, you mix into the project as you go, and I didn't think there was a need to have a bunch of different sends when I might not even use it at all. And so I simply just used the room reverb and half delay. As you can see, these 2 are the channels of the sends. I have my Valhalla Vintage reverb and my H delay. It's one of my favorite delays and reverbs. Auto-tune is a monophonic type of plugin, so you don't want to add that on a bus, even though you might have a bunch of vocal channels that are using auto-tune at the same pitch. Sometimes if you're getting into harmonizing or doing doubles and stuff like that, auto-tune starts getting panic mode, because its job is solely to fix issues with one pitch range that is, you know, one scale that it's supposed to be picking up. So if you're in C and, you know, you do a harmony that's at you know, F, it's like, okay, well, it has to pick something, you know, so it's going to pick C, then it's going to jump to F, then it's going to jump back to C, and then you're going to have a vocal that's just kind of like wobbling, and it's kind of ruining the process of it needing to like help sharpen a vocal, you know. So having it individually on all of the channels, that's fine. Everything else, as long as you're doing independent things, you can put on the independent channels. Once you get into the flow of adding you know, channels. Actually, I still, like I said, got to go back into these and you know, maybe move some things over as the doubles and stuff like that, because at the time I didn't build this template up already. This was as I was working along the way. I added the sends and stuff like that around when I was getting into the mixing, and that was that. But anyways, you see I have my mix bus, which all of these are connected to. That was where the 808 would have went on the previous project. Usually I create a melody bus, percussion bus, drum bus, and those buses go straight to my mix bus, which acts as my master. The only things that I'm going to have in my master channel is my metering system, which I always let me move it over, which I usually will check my levels, you know, my peaks, RMS, LUFS, dynamic range. You know, you get like some different cool views and stuff, so you can assess like what's going on in your project on a more visual level instead of, you know, audible level. And you can combine those together to really understand what's clean, what's muddy, what's harsh. And I think that's pretty cool. But never use completely just your eyes. Here you go. We have our sends, which is basically doing our reverb and the main vocals. You know, we have our send channels here, and then we have, yeah, these are our buses, main vocals, vocal doubles, ad libs, vocal stabs, and then our mix bus here. You see that these are what they're labeled down here, and then the mix bus is taking it the rest of the way to the finish line, right? And that's about it. So now going into let's see, about right here, I'm going to mute, no, I'm going to solo pretty much everything. Yeah, vocal doubles.
Want a number, but I'm better on me. Finger no dirty, I'm muddy my jeans. Tired of showing what loyalty mean. I had they back while they laughing at me. If I ain't the incident, you was dead wrong. And I put that on me. It's for the bad getters, no, it's not for the streets. Now they treated me like VIP.
You get the point. So cool stuff, man, cool stuff. And then if I take out the main vocals and just let the background stuff play, this is what that'll sound like. So cool stuff, man, like seriously cool stuff. I love making like background effects and stuff. It sounds so cool. And it just fills up a lot of the track, you know, when you are recording instead of just having the main vocal. Obviously there's got to be a level of intention behind it, but other than that, this is basically it. Man. So I'm gonna like do that, so everything's good. And then yeah, that's about it though, man. Like, so now when you hear these things, you still get the same effects and stuff that you was looking for, except now you free up a lot of CPU, and you won't have to be constantly going in too much to be dealing with your sample rate and your buffer length, and things of that nature, just to try to get your DAW to operate correctly. So there you go. Now you see how it is in an actual project, and you also get a chance to see how it is from me demonstrating it earlier on. I'm JmoneyProd, and I'm glad I've been able to talk to you guys about this. This is my first time getting into a subject that was not along the lines of just making beats or the new best melody tutorial or whatever. This is something that I think is very important in production and music production, in engineering and things of that nature. So if you guys like videos like this, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, comment, turn post notifications on, all that good stuff. Again, I appreciate y'all for the wait. I've been wanting to do videos like this for a good minute, and I'm glad that people have been recommending me to come out with these kind of videos. I hope you learned from this video, and again, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace, man.